Chicago Cubs baseball on Comcast Sportsnet, part of the NBC Sports Group.
With the conditions primed, the Cubs played Powerball. But the Brewers manufactured the W last night. Tonight, Paul Mahala makes his Cubs debut at Wrigley, where he has shined in the past. Cubs and Brewers, Game 2, first edition of the I-94 series, next on Comcast Sportsnet. We greet you from Wrigley Field. It's a frigid and windy night. Hey, good night for an ear warmer. Sponsored by Comcast Sportsnet. That's the giveaway tonight. Come on, kid, get into it. It's the Brewers and the Cubs, Game 2 of a 4-game series here at Wrigley. And hi again, everyone. Along with Bob Brenly, I'm Len Casper. 7-5 Brewers, the final in Game 1 last night. Bob, let's talk Paul Mahala, the Cubs' 5th starter. A new Cub, but he's very familiar with this ballpark.
Very familiar with this ballpark, very familiar with the Central Division. His best start of the spring was his last start of the spring against that juggernaut Angels ball club. Went 4 2/3, struck out 6. You see his numbers here, career numbers here at Wrigley Field, 6 and 2. He's a typical left-handed finesse pitcher. Works his fastball around the edges, has a good straight changeup, good curveball.
Corey Hart in the lineup for the Brewers, off to a hot start, and he has done a lot of damage against Mahala.
Well, he's done a lot of damage against the Cubs throughout his career, but especially against Paul Mahala. Corey Hart, one of those guys that kind of sneaks in under the radar. Last year they had Prince Fielder and Ryan Braun getting all the headlines. Corey Hart just goes out and does his job.
And a lefty for the Brewers, Chris Narveson, 6-1 lifetime against the Cubs. 29-year-old Paul Mahala will get it going. Brewers and Cubs coming up from Wrigley Field.
Powered by your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer, who invites you to test drive a Lexus today. Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, 75 years being right here in Illinois means no one's closer to your wellness. Experience wellness everywhere. Liberty Mutual Insurance. Responsibility. What's your policy? Toyota. Right now, you can get a lot for less at your local Toyota dealer, official partner of the Chicago Cubs. The new wireless receiver from AT&T Uverse. Visit att.com/freeyourtv. Rethink possible. BMO Harris Bank, helping money make sense. BMO Harris Bank, NA member FDIC. And by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com.
Wrigley Field, it is cold and very windy, but it's dry, and that's the key. Welcome to the opening week of baseball, presented by Burger King. And let's check in on tonight's Southwest starting lineup for the Milwaukee Brewers, written out by Ron Renicky. Weeks, Carlos Gomez in center for Morgan tonight against the lefty. Braun, Ramirez, Hart. You see there what Ryan Braun has done at Wrigley Field. Alex Gonzalez, Matt Gamble, Jonathan Lucroy, and Chris Narveson, who handles the bat well, batting ninth.
Take a look at the Cubs defensively tonight. It'll be Soriano, Bird, and DeJesus once again. Left to right across the outfield. Ian Stewart, Starlin Castro on the left side of the infield. Darwin Barney and Jeff Baker on the right side. Giovanni Soto behind the plate tonight for our Lexus pursuing perfection starting pitcher, left-hander, former Pirate Paul Maholm. See his numbers from last season. It was really a tale of two seasons for Paul with the Buccos last year. He was 6-9 with an ERA under 3 before the All-Star break. 0-5 with a 5.75 in 7 starts after the break. His season was cut short on August 17th with a strained left shoulder.
Now the umpires at Pride of Minot, North Dakota. Gary Cedarstrom, the crew chief. Back to the plate. Barksdale, Culbreth, and Johnson around the bases. Cubs come in at 1-3, even though they've had a lead in all 4 games so far this year. The Brewers are 2-2 after a 7-5 victory last night. So here's Ricky Weeks to start it off against Maholm, and the left-hander throws his first pitch as a Chicago Cub, and it's a knee-high strike, and we're underway. Weeks went 1 for 5 in the opener, hit a line shot home run to left in his second at bat.
Got the ski mask on, down tucked around his chin right now. If it gets much colder than it is right now, he'll probably cover up his whole face except for his eyes. 40 degrees at game time tonight with a stiff wind blowing straight in from left field.
One got away from Maholm. This is what you're going to have to do to hit it to left tonight.
Yeah, this was a laser beam. I'll tell you, you mentioned it last night, Len. You talked to the Brewers players, the team, people that travel with the team. They say Ricky Weeks hits the ball as hard as anybody on that roster, maybe as hard as anybody in the National League.
Foul tip to make it 2-2. Maholm got off to a slow start in spring training because he battled the flu early on. He was coming off shoulder issues late last year. The shoulder no problem at all, but he's not your typical number 5 starter. Well, the middle of the rotation guy. It just kind of worked out that way. In fact, Dale Swaim, when he made the first announcement on the rotation, he named 1, 2, and 5, leaving the 3 and 4 spots open.
Always frustrating for the number 5 starter in a rotation at the beginning of the season because you have to wait longer than anybody else on the roster to get out there and play some ball. I'm sure Paul Maholm has been anxiously looking forward to this start.
And Weeks just able to hold up. Key call made by Lance Barksdale. It's either a strikeout or a walk. And it ends up being a leadoff free pass. You be the judge. Ooh.
Yeah, very close. Ricky Weeks got some tremendously strong wrists and forearms. That time it appeared he was able to check his swing just in time. It's the 41st at bat for Ricky Weeks in his career against Paul Maholm. 2 guys that have been in this Central Division their whole careers.
Carlos Gomez first to check on Weeks. Now, did you wear all that headgear? Although you're a catcher, you did probably stayed warmer than most guys anyway. But did you dress up like it was winter when it was 40 degrees?
Well, it was winter in August at Candlestick Park, and if we'd have had those kind of head covers, I'm sure I would have had one on. I've probably been sitting down in the bullpen tonight, warming up pitchers, watching a big league ball game. It may keep you warmer, but it's definitely not something you're used to as a baseball player. You know, we talked about this in earlier telecasts. You come out of spring training when you're playing in 75 or 80 degree temperatures, bright sunshine every day. And then out here tonight with 40-degree temperatures, wind chill down in the 30s. You have to put on a lot of clothes to try to stay warm, and it just doesn't feel as easy to move your body the way you need to when you're all bundled up like those guys in the bullpen.
Saw Gomez squared a bunt last night. Successfully executed a safety squeeze. The Brewers actually had 2 RBI sac bunts and 2 sac flies. First team to pull that off in the same game since the White Sox did it against Milwaukee in 1989, scoring twice on sac flies and sac bunts.
Well, there's no question this Brewers team was an offensive juggernaut last year with Prince Fielder and Ryan Braun. We mentioned Corey Hart, Ricky Weeks. They could put runs on the board in a hurry, but Ron Renneke is very well versed in small ball. Both in his days as a player and his days as a coach under Mike Scioscia out in Anaheim, and now as the manager here in Milwaukee. If he feels it's necessary to manufacture runs, he's got some tricks up his sleeve.
Well, 1-2 to Gomez, and there's a deep drive to left. And Weeks is going to be held at third. It's a double for Gomez. That was one of those top spin line drives. Ball just kind of died as it got near the warning track, and fortunately for the Cubs, didn't go out.
That's actually right about where Giovanni Soto wanted that pitch. They wanted to elevate a fastball there up above the letters, try to get Gomez to chase. Unfortunately, it just wasn't up high enough above the strike zone, and Gomez is able to tomahawk that ball down into the left field corner. He looked like he thought he got all of that ball. Not with the wind blowing the way it is tonight, Carlos.
The Boo Birds out yet again tonight for Ryan Braun. He reached base 3 times last night on a double, a walk, a single, stole a base, scored a run. Pops this one into right center. Marlon Byrd makes a waist-high grab. Weeks is going to score. And also on the play, Gomez advances to third, so that's a 2-for-1 for Ryan Braun, who gets a sacrifice fly, and it's 1-0.
Sure if that ball was deep enough for the runners to tag and advance. You see Marlon Byrd streaking in from center. David DeJesus coming in from right. Really a tough play for either thrower out there. You've got a left-handed throwing right fielder and a right-handed throwing center fielder. Either guy was going to be throwing against his own body toward home plate. Marlon Byrd called off DeJesus and unfortunately couldn't get it home in time.
Now former Cub Aramis Ramirez with the infield in. Aramis in his return to Wrigley last night knocked in 2 runs. He went 1 for 4 with a double and a sac fly, but booted a ball in the ninth that gave the Cubs life before John Axford was able to get out of it with the bases loaded. Mahalam here giving up 1, trying to keep that second runner at third. Right field, the wind should push this one to the seats past the side wall, and it does.
You can see Ramirez, even with the pine tar and the stickum and the rosin, everything you can use to get a better grip on that bat, just so cold tonight that those batting gloves don't get the same kind of grip on the wood that they normally do under normal conditions. You see a lot of guys blowing into those batting gloves trying to warm up the leather before they take the grip on the bat.
Inside, and it's 2-2. Corey Hart is on deck. You see where Aramis ranks on the Cubs home run list. And 4 of those top 5 in the Hall of Fame. Little ground ball to Baker. Throw's going to go to the plate. Safe. Gomez got his hand in underneath the tag of Soto. You know, we talked about it last night, Bob. Gomez, one of the fastest guys in baseball, and he beat the throw.
Well, throw just high enough from Jeff Baker that Giovanni Soto has to come off the plate, and that gave Gomez just enough room to get his hand on the plate. Well, you're right. He really got down that line in a hurry. When Jeff Baker had that ball, I thought it was an easy out at home plate, but just that high throw taking Gio up enough that Gomez can get underneath the tag.
Yep, Gio actually never did get him with the glove at all. Fielder's choice and an RBI, so Ramirez has knocked in 3 already in the series. Big cut and a miss by Corey Hart. And Ramirez takes off for second, and he's going to get in. A rare stolen base attempt for Ramirez.
May remember last spring when Ramos was talking about stealing more bases, and we didn't see much of it last season at all. We didn't even see aggressive leadoffs on the bases last year, but catches Paul Mulholland by surprise and steals the bag out there at second.
One and 2 on Hart. Even with that stolen base, over the last 2 years plus, he has 2 total. Didn't have one in 2010. He had 1 last year. That's only the 17th of his career, which dates back to 1998 when Dale Swaim was still an active player. And Hart might have been hit by that pitch.
I think it clipped him on the foot. Breaking ball that broke too far down and in. Caught him on the outside of that left foot as he tried to get out of the way. Nearly stepped on the baseball, turned his ankle. Well, I'm just having trouble commanding everything right now. Missing his spots a lot. Breaking ball's been in the dirt and occasionally in the middle of the zone.
Well, just to follow up, not only was Dale Swaim an active player when Aramis Ramirez came up, they were teammates with the Pirates 1999. As Alex Gonzalez takes ball 1. Swaim's final major league hit came at Wrigley Field on September 26th of 1999. He was pinch hitting. He stayed in the game at third base and replaced Aramis, who was just 21 at the time. One and 1 to Gonzalez. Paul Mulholland's entire career, previous to tonight's start, had been spent as a Pittsburgh Pirate. 20 games under 500 in 185 starts. But at times has pitched much better than his record. Last year he went 6-14, but had a 3.66 earned run average. Mississippi native and a former first-round draft choice in 2003 to Mississippi State. Gonzalez deep to left, and it will go halfway up the bleachers. And it's a 3-run homer. Boy, that was a nice, fluid, easy-looking swing. He got all of it.
Yeah, a little extra extension at the very point of contact. That's what made that ball jump off the bat of Alex Gonzalez the way it did. Another off-speed pitch, a changeup this time, almost in the middle of the plate. Gonzalez maybe a tad out in front, but he was able to adjust his swing and get that full extension I was talking about. And when you do that, the ball goes a long way.
It's his first home run as a Brewer, and he put up 5 here in the opening inning. Matt Gamble. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Gamble, the only left-handed bat in the Brewers lineup tonight. You know, with conversations past, I always like the idea of not having an all right-handed or all left-handed lineup against an opposing pitcher. I think it serves a purpose to send a lefty up there against a left-handed pitcher every now and again, just so that pitcher can't get locked in on one side of the plate. Holland just like to find the plate right now consistently on the corners.
Two and two. As I said before, the Cubs, even though they've dropped 3 of their first 4, have had a lead in every game. Well, they're going to have a lead tonight. They've got to score a ton of runs. Down 5 before they take their first at bat. And that hit Gamble. Second hit batter of the inning. And Dale Swaim's going to argue this, as Giovanni Soto is as well, that Gamble offered it the pitch, and if he swings at it, it's a strike.
Take another look here as Mulholland runs a fastball up and into Gamble. Starts his swing, ball catches him on that left forearm. I think he checked in time. I mean, Dale Swaim has given it a good college try to go out there and argue that Gamble swung at the pitch, and if you swing and get hit, it counts as a strike. But you can clearly see on the replay he was able to check, and the ball did hit him on that left forearm.
Two hit batters here in this inning. And now it's a catcher, Lucroy. Still only 1 out. This is a tough spot every manager hates to be in. Thinking about getting somebody up in the bullpen in the first inning. It's quiet at the moment, but Mulholland needs to get an out here to make his manager at least feel somewhat comfortable that he can get the next 2. It's 2-0 on the 8-hitter.
The good news is Ryan Dempster, Matt Garza, and Jeff Samardzija all work deep into their ball game, saving some of the Cubs bullpen. Now this is a nightmare early in the season, especially when it happens at the top of your rotation. You're forced to get a lot of innings out of your bullpen early in the season. That's when you start making roster moves.
All 3. Well, the logical guy to eat up some innings tonight would be Rodrigo Lopez if needed. And ball 4. Chris Bosio will head on out, and the bullpen will become active. And the tricky thing about this situation, which we've discussed in the past, is, you know, a guy like Mulholland, if he can just gut his way through the first, he might go 5 or 6. But as a manager and a pitching coach right now, you're kind of flipping a coin to figure out if that's actually possible.
And given the conditions here tonight and the hard time that the Cubs have had scoring runs in the early going this season, you can't fall into too big of a hole. I mean, as much as you'd like to get Paul Maholm through this first inning, get 2 more outs, get back in that dugout, let your team swing the bats, you can't afford to dig too much more of a hole. With that in mind, Lopez is cranking it up in that bullpen down the third baseline.
Well, Rodrigo worked as a starter in spring training. Narveson, by the way, not showing bunt on that first pitch. As you saw, a career .234 batter. Now he shows bunt, and that's a strike.
It seems like it's been a case of 2 extremes for Paul Maholm. Either he misses the strike zone so badly that the Brewers hitters don't even think about swinging, or he's made mistakes right down the middle of the plate. Just can't seem to find that good release point yet.
Outside corner, 1-2. And bunted foul. That's a strikeout. Yet, though, he's got to face Ricky Weeks for the second time this inning. Leadoff walk for Weeks to start the game, would later score. And it takes strike 1 on a curveball that caught the outside. It's been a rocky first inning for Paul Maholm, facing his 10th batter of the frame. And a bouncer to Castro. He'll feed Barney. And the inning finally comes to an end. They get 5 runs, leave 2, and the Cubs are coming up. See how the Cubs do against Chris Narveson. The Southwest starting lineup looks this way: DeJesus, Barney, and Castro 1 through 3. Soriano, Stewart, and Baker in the middle. Jeff in there for Brian LaHare tonight. Soto, Bird, and Maholm will round things out.
Quick look at the Brewers defensively tonight. Ryan Braun in left, Carlos Gomez out in center, Corey Hart in right field. It'll be Ramirez, Gonzalez, Weeks, and Gamble third to first across the infield. Jonathan Lucroy doing the catching tonight for left-hander Chris Narveson. Narveson, double-digit winner in games the last 2 years for the Brewers. Won 12 back in 2010, won 11 games last year before his season was kind of curtailed at the end. Pitched in relief in the postseason. You see his mix-up pitches, a lot of straight changeups, by far his best pitch and his out pitch.
De Jesus will lead it off. Went 1 for 5 in the opener.
Pretty decent numbers for the Cubs hitters who have seen Chris Narveson in the past, with the exception of Alfonso Soriano, who has really struggled against that Narveson changeup. 1 for 13 lifetime. Everybody else handles him pretty well.
.30 years old, 6'3", 206 pounds. Born in Colorado, went to high school in North Carolina.
Good night for the ear warmers, Len.
Yes, it is.
You can warm other body parts with those things too.
We'll just stick to the ears.
Okay. It's so deceiving here in Chicago. You look out your window in the afternoon, bright blue skies, the sun shining. You think, man, what a nice day. I'm going to get outside and enjoy. You walk out that door and that wind hits you in the face and you realize maybe not quite yet.
Narveson, 23 wins over the last 2 years combined. And the Brewers got him on a minor league contract prior to 2008. Pretty nice bargain. Jesus working a full count. And it's a ground ball into left.
Good battling a bat by David DeJesus. That's what you love to see him do up there at the top of the order. See a lot of pitches and ultimately end up on base. Good opposite field line drive that snuck through that left side of the infield.
Okay, the Cubs, Bob, have been very aggressive with the base running from the minute we started spring training. They haven't been in the regular season down 5 runs, but it is only the first inning. Does that change things if you're Dale Swain?
Well, once again, conventional wisdom is if you get base runners, you play it very patiently and hope somebody hits a ball out of the ballpark. But given the conditions, given the Cubs offense this year, I think Dale Swain's going to have to be aggressive almost all the time this year.
Darwin Barney with a home run last night. First of the year for the Cubs.
We talked a lot about it in the Cactus League. Darwin Barney putting on some added muscle, especially to his upper body. The thing you get concerned with is a guy carrying extra weight that he hasn't carried in the past. How does it affect him defensively? How does it affect his base running? But from what we've seen so far, the added pounds of muscle have not affected Darwin Barney in the least defensively. He's made some really nice ranging plays, especially up the middle of the field.
I think the key for Rudy Jaramillo, the hitting coach, is that he keeps hitting line drives and doesn't try to start hitting a lot of fly balls, because that's not his game. It could be 2 weeks. Gonzalez and just like that. 2 down.
It's too bad the Cubs weren't playing hit and run right there. If you could get Ricky Weeks to cover the bag at second, that ball would have rolled through perfectly into right field. But playing station to station, it's hit right at Ricky Weeks for an easy 4-6-3 double play.
Starlin Castro went 0 for 5 last night and struck out looking with the bases loaded to end the game with the Cubs trailing by 2. It was a fastball that froze him. After he swung and missed on a slider, took a slider for strike 2, and then probably was guessing he was going to get another slider and didn't. And then talking to Rudy Jaramillo, one of the issues for Starlin has been he's lengthened that stride a little bit when he lifts that front foot. Out into right center, and it will not be caught. Gomez got a glove on it, but it'll be a double. So Castro is aboard with 2 outs. Starlin kind of drawing a line in the box. When he lifts the foot, he wants to get it right back down in basically the same spot, not stride too far, which can slow down your bat.
Gomez, with that great speed, can only get the tip of his glove on that ball. Wind was pushing it away from him the entire time. Easy power to the opposite field that time by Starlin Castro. That's really good to see. We all kind of assumed that as his career progressed and he got more experience that he'd hit for more power. That doesn't necessarily mean hitting more home runs. If you drive that ball in the gap, get your extra base hits, especially with runners in scoring position, that's what you're hoping for.
Well, that's the other thing Rudy talked about. He gets into his batting practice rounds with some of the veterans, and he starts to try to hit home runs. And he said when you're 22 and you're impressionable, that can happen, but he's really pounding the idea home. Don't try to hit home runs. You can get into some bad mechanical habits doing that. Soriano off to a very good start, really all around, particularly defensively. A miscommunication with Marlon Byrd on a play last night, but really other than that, he's made some plays that I don't think he would have made in the past.
Including a nice running catch going toward the foul pole right in front of the bricks. That's much has been made of the fact that Soriano doesn't want to run into those bricks. Well, who does? You know, I don't fault him for that, but he spent a lot of time this spring working on his fence play down in spring training. We've seen Dave McKay out here before the ball games in the afternoon hitting line drives and fly balls near the barrier out there, especially that well area. Soriano looks much improved early in the season.
And he has a 3-0 count with Ian Stewart on deck. Castro trying to start a new hitting streak tonight after his career best 14 gamer ended last night and his on base streak of 43 games. Just a change up 3-2.
All right, Narveson will throw that pitch in any count to any hitter. Doesn't really make any difference, righty or lefty. He's got the ultimate confidence in that straight changeup.
Day off delivery, and he got him on another changeup. First strikeout for Narveson, and it's 5-0 Milwaukee after 1.
Budweiser Bleacher Suite features a sports bar atmosphere with new TVs, bar-style tables, and windows that open to give you the atmosphere of the bleachers in your own private room. The suite can hold up to 100 guests and includes food, drinks, and parking. For more information, visit Cubs.com/suites or call 773-404-4200.
Let's see if Paul Maholm can settle in. After a 5-run first, Gomez will start it. Takes it low. Like he broke his bat, and he's got 2 hits tonight. I tell you, Carlos Gomez is a pretty intriguing guy because of his tools. He just glides around the baseball field, playing defense, running the bases. And he just hasn't been able to put it all together. He's a career .244 hitter.
And he makes more than his share of mental mistakes on the field that belie those great tools that he has. A great source of frustration, I'm sure, for every manager and coach that thought that he would be the guy to get the best out of Carlos Gomez. Certainly a very important part of a team because of his tools, but could be a lot better player than he has been up to this point.
Braun hit a sac fly in the first. Let's see, Garth Orge, first base coach, one of my favorite baseball surnames, I-O-R-G, Orge, not Jorg. That's a strike. Slide step by Maholm. Quick release.
And sometimes a pitcher can get mechanically out of whack a little bit using that slide step because you are so much quicker to home plate. It's very tough to get your arm up into the proper slot to execute your pitches. Kind of a fine line between keeping that runner close at first base and giving your catcher an opportunity to throw him out should he run, and yet focusing on making good pitches to the hitter.
Towering blast to left for Ryan Braun, and it's going to be caught. Alfonso Soriano. Man, he got it up in the wind, and it died.
Boy, did it ever. That was a towering fly ball. And needless to say, no wind at all. That ball's out here. Any wind blowing out, it might still be going up toward Evanston somewhere. That ball was tattooed, but Soriano never took his eye off of it, cruised over into the middle of the warning track, and made it a routine play.
The outside corner on Ramirez. Not much in terms of hits this season, just 2 for 15, but he has knocked in 5 runs. Gomez gets a hold of one to left. Soriano back on it, and he will catch it right up against that wall we were talking about. Who is this guy? That was a really nice grab by Alfonso Soriano.
Yeah, that's a catch that he probably would not have made his first couple of years here in Chicago. Maybe not last year, but no fear of the vines that time. Goes up into the ivy to make the catch on what appeared to be another home run off the bat of a Brewer. Instead, it dies in Soriano's glove right up against the bricks.
Hart hit by a pitch his first time up. Gomez still at first as Mahalam keeps a close eye on him.
Given him a lot of different looks. He's used the slide step to home plate. He's used a slide step pick off to first. He's used the high leg kick to home and a high leg kick pick off at first base. We've seen everything but that step off pick move to first.
Side corner.
Hart, long arm, stands well off the plate, tempting you to throw to that outside corner. That time Mahalam was able to get the tailing fastball to the outside corner. Comes right back with a changeup in the same spot. Corey Hart can get to that pitch. He covers the plate really well with those long arms. He'd prefer the ball from the middle of the plate in, but if you keep working him away, he will take his shots to right field.
Pitch inside, and it's 2-1. Bob thrilled to be part of a wonderful luncheon today as the Cubs and the Robert R. McCormick Foundation announced more than $1 million in grants to nonprofit organizations. In Chicago, base hit right field. Gomez will easily make the turn. And they're at the corners. That's an 8th consecutive year more than $1 million has been donated through Cubs Care, McCormick Foundation Fund, and more than $17 million donated since 1991.
Kudos to everybody involved with the Cubs charities. A lot of people work very, very hard to make all those different events during the course of the season happen, and a lot of people are going to benefit.
Alex Gonzalez hit with 2 men on in the first inning, and he cranked a home run. That's again with 2 on. He's in a hitter's count, 2-0.
Yeah, this is that home run you were talking about back in the first. Off-speed pitch out and down. Full extension by Gonzalez. Got a lot of backspin. That ball cut right through the wind into the bleachers in left field.
It's ready to hit. You see the little tug on the front shoulder. High fly center field, and it's Marlon Byrd. That's the inning. They hit a couple of deep ones, but they both stayed in this time. Sportsnet. Tune in Thursday, Game 1. The Hawks begin their quest for the Cup against the Coyotes in Phoenix. Coverage starts at 8:30 with Chevy. Blackhawks pregame live. Blackhawks Coyotes Thursday night at 8:30 only on Comcast Sportsnet. Fans' best friend.
Hey, Len, you know what? The best season ticket option in the city continues to be the PNC Club of Chicago. Tickets in this exclusive club come with added benefits, including VIP parking. Your guests will enjoy an all-inclusive top-shelf bar and gourmet food, and get this, a climate-controlled suite with celebrities and former Cub players. For information, contact the Premier Sales Team at 773-404-4200 or Cubs.com/suites.
We will head off to St. Louis after Thursday afternoon's homestand finale. So we'll be, I'm sure, near a local establishment with a large screen TV that'll have some hockey on. And it's a big weekend in St. Louis. The Cardinals play their home opener Friday, and the Blues will host the Sharks. Ian Stewart to left, and Braun will make the play. Now the Three Stooges. Cubs' upcoming schedule. Talked about April, not an easy month. Next trip is the first one for the Cubs, and then when they return home, they get the Cincinnati Reds. Ozzie Guillen, I believe, will be back after his suspension when the Cubs come to Marlins Park. Jeff Baker in the lineup against the lefty Narveson. Dale Swaim wants to get Baker in as much as he can against lefties. As we look around baseball, you got some guys signed some long-term contracts, including Brandon Phillips. How about the Reds handing out some dough to their infielders? Vin Scully missed the Dodger home opener, first time in 35 years, but bad cold. Sounds like he should be back soon, which is great news. And Ozzie suspended 5 games by the Miami Marlins. Joey Cora will manage in the interim. Ozzie made comments expressing admiration for Fidel Castro. Very controversial comments, particularly in Miami. So he'll sit out the next 5 games. In fact, he flew home today to have a news conference to apologize again.
Well, and really, given Ozzie's history of verbal outbursts and profane interviews, the 5-game slap on the wrist is just that, a slap on the wrist. It's not hard to draw a parallel between the situation that the owner of the Cincinnati Reds, Marge Schott, had with Major League Baseball and some of her comments concerning Adolf Hitler, which is another road we don't want to go down. But Marge was eventually suspended for a year by Major League Baseball and ultimately ended up selling the Reds because of some of her transgressions, and Ozzie gets a 5-game suspension. The good news is Joey Cora is going to get a lot of managerial experience as the bench coach under Ozzie Guillen.
Yeah, you're right. Well, the line that really upset people was, "I love Fidel Castro," but he repeatedly today said that is not the case. 1-2 on Giovanni Soto.
I mean, we've heard it many times in Ozzie's tenure here on the south side of town. Well, that's just Ozzie being Ozzie. And I think anytime you hear that phrase about anybody, it's not something good. I mean, you've been around baseball your whole life, Len, as have I, and we both know that down in that dugout and in the clubhouses, The language can get a little salty from time to time, but for the most part, when guys are on national television or they're speaking in front of groups that are mixed, they know how to control their language and how to come off as a little more professional than Ozzie has over the course of his career. Now, people that love Ozzie Guillen will say that's just Ozzie being Ozzie, but you know, you're not in the clubhouse, you're not on the team bus, you're standing in front of a television camera.
We will see Ozzie and his new team, former Cub Carlos Zambrano, next week. There's a 1-0 to Marlon Byrd. Outside, 2-0. The Cubs center fielder. Rotation holds up, by the way. Carlos Zambrano should face the Cubs on Thursday, the final game of the series. Runner goes, and Baker not only safe, he's going to get third on an error. And Jonathan Lucroy.
We talked about how the wind affects batted balls last night. It also affects thrown balls. Lucroy obviously did not have a cross-seam grip right there. That ball was tailing from the instant it left his hand. No chance for Ricky Weeks, and Baker ends up at third base with 2 outs in the inning.
From the windup with a runner at third. Marlon Byrd muscles one out into shallow right center. Corey Hart slides and has it to end the inning. Ball just had too much hang time for Byrd. Still 5-0 Milwaukee after 2. Later in the game.
For those of us of a certain age, Len, we watched the Three Stooges every day after school. We'd run home from school to catch the Three Stooges and the Little Rascals every day. I can't believe they're making a Three Stooges movie. Oh, yeah. It's about time.
The best one had to be the first. Disorder in the court. He's asking if you'll swear. No, but I know all the words. Chachi Wachi.
Oh, so many favorites. We had the Three Stooges' upcoming Cub schedule there, I didn't see Niagara Falls anywhere on the schedule.
Step by step.
Inch by inch.
Soto wants his ball bounced. And Gamble missed it.
Mentioned Gamble, the only lefty in the lineup, so Paul Maholm wears him out with breaking pitches down low and away in the dirt, finally getting a strike 3 on a curveball at 73 miles per hour.
See the story about Robert Andino, Orioles second baseman. Yes, he and Yankee catcher Russell Martin had a little verbal exchange after the Yankees beat the Orioles 6-2 last night. Andino says he was accused of tipping the location of pitches. Well, first a 1-1. Lucroy deep to left center, and that one will get out, a home run. Well, the Brewers have hit some long fly balls tonight. It's their second home run. The wind really hasn't bothered them too much, even though it has taken away a couple of other would-be home runs.
Stayed right on that changeup. I'm sure Chris Bosio is not going to like hearing this any better than any other Cubs pitching coach I've talked to in the past. But when you see a guy stay back on a changeup and hit it the way Jonathan Lucroy just did, it makes you wonder if he's not picking something up in the delivery, or perhaps the way the infielders are moving before the pitch. He's not fooled in the least by this changeup. He squares it up and hits it up into the bleachers in left center field. That's not the reaction you expect to see from a hitter on a straight changeup.
So 6-0. A strike on Chris Narveson. Castro will pick it up near second base. So to finish the Robert Andino thing, I guess my question for you is, all teams are trying to pick up and decipher what the catcher's signs are, right?
Right.
So if you figure it out, which a lot of teams do, why does it almost cause a fist fight?
I don't know.
Isn't it kind of part of the game?
Yeah, well, if you're on the field of play, and I assume Andino was on at second base, staring in at the signs, it's up to the defensive team to make those signs tough enough that the runner at second base cannot steal them.
Lined and caught by Ian Stewart. Weeks crushed that ball, but Stewart able to flag it down to end the inning. They continue to hit balls very hard, but good defense here for the Cubs. 6-0 Milwaukee.
Red, the official kids club of the Chicago Cubs. Help your favorite young Cubs fan earn his or her pinstripes as a member of the Cubs Kids Club, and they'll receive kid-specific perks, experiences, and merchandise throughout the 2012 baseball season. As always, visit Cubs.com to sign up today.
Everybody bundled up tonight. This Narveson working with a 6-0 advantage. Mahalam, DeJesus, and Barney for the Cubs. Caught the inside corner, 1-1. And Paul Mahalam. Home run came in 2009. It was off John Mayne of the Mets.
Otherwise known as the sinking of the Maine.
Two. Narveson made 4 starts against the Cubs last year, swing and a miss, strike 3. He won 3 of those outings. Picks up his 3rd strikeout, back to the top in DeJesus. Notes from around baseball. Chipper Jones is back off the disabled list and in the lineup for the Braves tonight in Houston. He's going to retire after the season. Had surgery for a torn meniscus in his left knee on March 26th. Braves are 0-4 for the first time since they lost 10 in a row to start the '88 season.
Take off his gloves or his hands out of the jacket long enough to eat the fries.
Shallow right and a base hit. DeJesus is 2 for 2.
Darwin Barney's rocket-like home run in the ball game last night. Screaming line drive right down that left field line into the basket. That was a wind beater last night as well. Well, with Jeff Baker stealing that base and taking 3rd on the throwing error by Jonathan Lucroy in that last inning, it fired a shot across the bow of the Brewers. Dale Swain saying, you know, we're not going to stop doing what we have to do even if we're down by 6 runs. So Narveson with a pick move on David DeJesus at first before delivering to Darwin Barney. Now, sometimes a base runner will tell you that he has no intention of running. Take a very short lead. The defensive team will realize that and swing their first baseman around behind the runner. But if you continue to take your maximum lead at first base, as Barney slugs one into left field, back-to-back base hits here for the Cubs, you continue to do the things that you would do in a close ball game, and they don't know whether you're going to run or not.
Here's Castro. You'll see the Brewers change their signs a little bit with David DeJesus at second base. I guess my point, and I hate to be logical here about this, because some of these unwritten rules are not particularly logical. You change your signs with runners at second so the other team can't decipher your signs. So you're assuming they are trying to, and then when they do it successfully, they've somehow done something wrong. I don't understand.
There you go, being logical again.
Yeah, we know you're trying to figure them out, so we're going to try to hide it.
Yeah.
Oh, you figured it out? I want to punch you in the face.
I guess my attitude has always been, if you're between the white lines, if you're a player in uniform on the field on a given night, anything goes. You know, it's something different if you're using binoculars from the bullpen, or guys from the bench are watching a replay monitor and whistling to the hitter what signs are coming, or what pitches are coming, rather. To me, that goes outside the rules of fair play. But if you're like David DeJesus, taking your lead off second, looking right into Jonathan Lucroy's signs, it's part of the game. You're on the field in play. Nothing wrong with that. I just always found it remarkable when you get a pitcher on the mound and you try to make the signs more complicated so the runner can't steal your signs, and your pitcher's unable to keep up with you. And so you have to make them a little simpler and a little simpler. And eventually you end up going first sign or last sign, something that is so easy to pick up from second base that you're going to get in trouble anyway. I can't imagine any other job in the world where you say, geez, these signs are too tough. I can't get this.
Harbison doing exactly what he didn't want to do. He walked Castro to load the bases for a home run threat in Alfonso Soriano. Looking for his first homer of the season. And he couldn't hold up. Check in on tonight's AT&T U-verse Multiview. 2 singles and a walk, loading him up. Oh, 0-1 pitch, ground ball, base hit, and the Cubs will get a couple. Throw back to second, and Castro just got his hand back in. So they're on the board at 6-2.
Creeping back in a little at a time. Marvison tries to go back to that same breaking ball he got Soriano to chase in the dirt. This time he leaves it up and over the plate. Perfectly placed right back up the middle of the field to drive home a couple of teammates.
Coach Rick Kranitz is out. Good maneuver there by Starlin.
Yeah, only a good slide got him back into the bag safely at second.
Four consecutive Cub batters have reached after the strikeout of Mahalam. Sudden Arbison going to rack up some pitches. 1-2.
Lucroy out on the outside corner. That pitch strays back toward the inside corner. Still in the strike zone, but Narveson now having some issues hitting his spots.
Bounce that one, I think, off his back foot.
We talked about the pitch count for Narveson starting to climb up there a little bit. Ron Renicky used 5 relief pitchers in that ball game last night, although none were overextended. Very short outings. Veras pitched an inning. Rodriguez pitched an inning, a third for Manny Parra. Steve Dillard did not retire a batter. He walked the only man he faced, and then John Axford came in to close it out, getting the final 2 outs of the game. So all should be rested and ready to go should he need to get into his pen.
The lone exception is the closer Axford, who had to throw a ton of pitches 2 days in a row. And Ron Renicky would like to stay away from him tonight if possible, but he is available if he has to use him. Now, he has a little bit of a luxury in that he's got a setup guy in Francisco Rodriguez, who I'm sure would love a save opportunity or two. That's for well down the road. We're only in the 3rd inning. Hit very hard. They will not get an out. That ball kicked up on Alex Gonzalez. It's an error on him, and the bases are loaded again.
And normally one of the most sure-handed shortstops in the game. That was no fault of his right there. That ball just took a bad hop, hit him in the chest. Great opportunity here for the Cubs to creep back into this ball game. Another bases loaded chance, this time for Jeff Baker.
A 40-degree night. It's probably under that now. You got guys dressed like it's December. And we're only in the 3rd inning, and it has the appearance of a midsummer night's game here at Wrigley Field. Tag play as Castro will score, and the Cubs in this inning have cut the deficit in half. It's 6-3. Jeff Baker with a sacrifice fly.
Well, even though the Brewers have hit 2 home run balls tonight, we didn't think it was going to be the kind of night where you could manufacture instant offense hitting the ball up into the bleachers. But the Cubs slowly but surely pecking away at that Brewers lead. They'll take that sac fly RBI right there.
Well, there are 2 parts to this, as you know, when you're down a bunch early. You got to score to get back in the game, but you also need to have your pitching staff keep the Brewers in the general vicinity of 6 runs. And Lopez is up now. His Mulholland spot only a couple of spots away. As Dale Swain surveys the Brewers, he's got 2, 3, and 4 in the next inning. It'll be an important inning for the Cubs if they have thoughts of winning this game. They want that shutdown inning after you get back into it. Up the middle. Weeks with a diving stop, and they get him. They had the shift on, so he had to go from the shortstop side of second base to make that play. Talk about unconventional. Cubs do get 3, however. It's 6-3. Taco Bell, open 1 a.m. or later. It is time now for tonight's AT&T Mobility Trivia Question. Been talking this week about the Brewers 25 years ago starting the 87 season, 13-0. Who threw a no-hitter during that season opening streak? Cubs manager Dale Swain was an integral part of that 87 club.
Well, it's not a trivia question, partner, but I do have a really good this day in baseball history for you. Back in 1989, right-hander Dave Stieb of the Toronto Blue Jays, in his second start of the regular season, threw a one-hitter. Well, nice going, Dave. Here's the deal. It was his third one-hitter in his last 4 games started. He finished the 88 season with 2 one-hitters, started the 89 season going 8 innings, giving up 4 hits, and then backed that up with another complete game one-hitter. 4 games started, 35 innings pitched, 7 hits, 1 run.
Wow. Now, did you catch any of those?
No.
Were you enjoying the view from the
as always, I had
Blue
a
Jays
great
bullpen?
seat. Yeah, I had a great seat and had some sunflower seeds and enjoyed watching a big league ball game. You know, we were talking about it earlier this afternoon. Well, that ball is skied high into the air in center field to Marlon Byrd. Should be no problem. You know, being a former catcher, people always say, who's the best guy you ever caught? Who had the best curveball you ever caught? Who had the fastest fastball you ever caught? And Dave Stieb is a guy that I continually forget. But looking back on it, he had the best stuff of any pitcher I ever caught. He had electric stuff. Great command. Very aggressive and competitive out there on the mound. And when he was on top of his game, as the numbers would tell you, he was unhittable.
Probably overlooked because he pitched in Toronto. Should mention Dave Stieb did make 4 starts with the White Sox in '93. The rest of his career was as a Blue Jay. Well, if the early part of this series is any indication, and it's not a surprise to anybody, Ryan Braun is going to be roundly booed about, let's see, half of 680 plate appearances, about 340 times this season. And I would imagine, Bob, at one point he probably just gets used to it and it's just white noise, right? You just probably won't even hear it at a certain point.
I would think so, but the thing is, in those road games, he doesn't get any break when he goes to the outfield. As we saw here at Wrigley last night, a number of the fans in the left field bleachers made signs. They were getting on him pretty good from the bleachers out there in left field, and I assume he'll get the same reception everywhere he goes on the road.
Trying to think of a ballpark where the fans are not very close to you in left. They don't play at Fenway, do they? Although they could yell at you from the monster seats.
They would yell down at you.
Full count, 3-2 with the Ramos Ramirez on deck.
Yeah, to be quite honest, because of his status in the game and the incredible offensive numbers he puts up, I think Ryan Braun got booed plenty last year.
Well, Dale Swain said that. They asked him, the media did before the game yesterday, said he'll be booed just like he always is. A little bit more, though, this time. And a base hit.
Like a team full of bank robbers with those ski masks on.
Yeah, I think what should happen in one of the road parks is there should be just complete silence. That'd be more jarring to Braun at some point than the booing.
That would be unnerving.
Or like a standing ovation. Just do something totally opposite of what everybody else is doing.
Cross the wires a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, Pete Rose said many years ago, that's how you know that you've made it in the major leagues. When you get booed at every visiting park you go to, that means you've done something against their team to cause those fans not to like you. Pete Rose was the guy that got booed in every road park as well.
I do find it kind of funny that the Milwaukee Brewers are all dressed up like it's winter. When for years they used to play in the coldest ballpark in the history of baseball. But now they play in comfy, cozy Miller Park.
Hermetically sealed for conditions like this.
Yeah.
County Stadium up in Milwaukee, it felt cold in the summertime. I don't know. There was something about where the ballpark sat or how it was configured. It just always seemed chilly in there.
Fly ball right field. De Jesus drifting back. Two down in the inning. And it'll be Corey Hart. He's been hit by a pitch, scored a run and singled.
Talked about Corey Hart in his plate coverage in his last at bat, and ultimately he did take an outside pitch from Paul Maholm and line it into right field. A wiggle with the fingers by Giovanni Soto. Should be a changeup. Indeed it was.
Tap back to Maholm, and there is that shutdown inning. It's still 6-3 Brewers in the fourth.
Work manicuring the infield dirt here at Wrigley Field. Middle infielders' best friends.
Let's answer tonight's AT&T mobility question. Who threw the no-hitter during that magical Brewers streak to start the '87 season? Juan Nieves, who's now the bullpen coach of the White Sox, back on tax day in 1987. See Eddie Murray trying to break it up, and Robin Yount with a diving grab in center field. Now, you might have been able to notice, this is a great part of this story. My good friend Bill Schroeder, who's there he is behind the pole. Bill's being shy. Working with Brian Anderson on Brewers TV. He caught the Nieves no-hitter. It was a roller to Weeks, who surrounds and throws out Marlon Byrd. Normally, what does a pitcher do when he completes a no-hitter? He hugs his catcher. Nieves hugged Paul Molitor. So you got Schroeder hugging the back of his battery mate. He's trying to wedge his way in there.
I love it.
And I believe Dale Swain, that's Dale with the mustache right there, number 7. Dale made a really nice defensive play in the middle of the game. It was really cold that night. He also hit a home run and a double in the 7-0 win. But you got a kick out of that part of it.
I mean, Juan Nieves realized that Paul Molitor is going to go to the Hall of Fame. I like Bill Schroeder a lot, but I'm going to go hug the Hall of Famer.
There's Bill.
Well, at least he got to catch a no-no in the big leagues. I'm jealous.
There's Joe Mather batting for Mahalam. Golfed in the air to left, and Ryan Braun will have a pretty easy play.
Well, assuming that Dale Swain wants to get a lot of innings out of Rodrigo Lopez in the bullpen, this is one of those situations. We might see a double switch depending on where this inning ends. For example, if David DeJesus does make the final out of the bottom half of the 4th inning, you could leave Joe Mather in that 9 spot and put Rodrigo Lopez into David DeJesus' spot, the number 1 spot in the lineup. That way you're as far away from that pitcher coming to the plate as you could possibly be. Ideally, you get 2-3 innings out of Rodrigo Lopez, and Joe Mather stays in the game as the right fielder. But we'll see how Dale plays it.
Not the start Paul Mahalam wanted in his Cubs debut. And a roller to Weeks. That's the first 1-2-3 for Narveson. Cubs go into their bullpen. Rodrigo Lopez in the 5th when we return. To win free food if the Cubs get a base hit in the 5th inning. Fans with a base hit for Burritos game card win a free entree.
Hey fans, next time you want to catch a Cubs game, head to StubHub, where you'll find the seats you want and the freedom to choose where you want to sit. StubHub is the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Chicago Cubs. For more information, visit Cubs.com/StubHub.
Here's veteran right-hander Rodrigo Lopez. Did a pretty nice job last year. Pitching out of the bullpen, made 16 starts as well. Didn't make the club out of spring training this year, but he got here for game 2, so close enough.
Rodrigo really threw the ball well down in Arizona. Specifically a start he had against the Oakland A's over in Phoenix, a ball game that I was fortunate to sit right in the front row. Boy, that was fun to watch that game. He was really dealing.
Another hit batter for the Cubs as Gonzalez is the 3rd Brewer hit as Mahalan plunked 2 in the 1st inning.
Tailing fastball up and in. Caught him on the upper part of his right arm as he turned into that ball. Boy, very dangerous. When you see that pitch riding up and in, and the batter turns toward third base to try to get out of the way, you're really exposing a lot of vital body parts to that pitch as it tails inside off the plate. Probably fortunate it only caught him in the upper arm.
Fastball in, Matt Gamble. Side again. Now, one issue for a guy like Lopez, Bob, is this: you finish spring training, you've got a day off before the regular season opener. As Gamble will fly out to Jesus, 1 away. Doesn't go to Iowa, is not on the roster until game 2. You got the off day Friday. I mean, it's been a while since he's pitched against big league hitters. He's throw side sessions all you want. It's not the same.
I was going to say the same thing, Len. He's thrown a couple of side sessions, but with no batter standing in there trying to hit your deliveries, it's just a glorified bullpen session, and you just hope that Rodrigo can get back out there on that bump and pitch effectively the way he did down in the Cactus League.
Smothered by Soto. This is his first action since March 31st, technically. It's been a week and a half. I really think that there's always room for a guy like Rodrigo Lopez on your staff. A guy who can pitch in any role you ask him to. You're not concerned about necessarily a pitch count or innings with a veteran like Lopez, who's done this many times before. You have too many young guys in your bullpen. Got to be a little more careful with pitch counts. I don't want to use the word abuse, but you know what I mean. There's certain guys who will tell their manager, you can abuse me. Use me as much as you want.
Whatever you need.
Yeah.
I'm your guy. He's the equivalent of Joe Mather, a utility player on the pitching staff. He could start. You'd have confidence that he could get you into the 5th or 6th inning of a ball game. You can bring him in long relief. You get jammed up in that bullpen. You could spot him against a right-hander here or there. And he's never going to say, I can't pitch today.
Over 1,300 innings in his career.
No, I've talked about it in the past, Len. I had a guy like that on the 01 Diamondbacks World Championship team, Miguel Batista. Very effective as a starting pitcher when we had a need in the rotation. We used him as a matchup right-hander with that cut fastball that he had. We'd use him in long relief. He would do anything we asked him to do and do it effectively. Very, very valuable member of a staff.
And Miguel still pitching with the Mets at age 41. Gonzalez runs on the 3-2, and I believe that's the call here. A strikeout. So the inning comes to an end. It's Chris Narveson. Still has to get through the bottom of the fifth to qualify for the win.
Some fancy footwork down there at second base as Gomez realizes he's out a mile, so he comes up short. Darwin Barney goes up to tag him in the chest, and it looked like he may have gotten his foot on the bag before the tag was applied, but called out nonetheless by Field and Culbert, the second base umpire. And I'm sure this is a learning moment for Darwin Barney. Dale Swaim, I would assume, is going to tell him, where's that runner going? Where does he want to be? He wants to be on the base. Put the glove near the base. It's just a natural tendency for an infielder or a catcher for that matter. When a guy pulls up short like that, you reach out and try to go after his body, giving him an opportunity to get his foot on the base.
Here's Gonzalez, and he will get Barney. Double, a walk and a run for Castro. Takes a curve. Strike one. And Brandon Phillips agreeing to a 6-year contract with the Reds worth over $72 million. Carlos Santana, catcher for the Indians, it's a 5-year deal worth $21 million. Ian Kinsler of the Rangers, 5 years, $75 million. And just saw a report in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel tonight. Brewers general manager Doug Melvin saying that Brewers and the agent for Zach Greinke have decided to take a little break from their contract negotiations. Greinke is due to become a free agent after the season. Called strike 3. Two down. Hey fans, visit the Captain Morgan Club here at Wrigley Field with more than 40 flat screens. Great food and Wrigley's largest outdoor patio. Come celebrate a Cubs win. Join us for the Captain Morgan Club post-game party featuring great music and Wrigley's friendliest staff. For more info, including specials and private party options, call 773-404-4750. Soriano with a base hit. They had the pull shift on against the righty. Plopped one into right center. Zach Greinke will face Matt Garza Thursday afternoon. How about the Reds? They hand out some long-term deals, keeping the right side of their infield intact for a while. The offseason, they acquired Sean Marshall and handed him a 3-year deal. Joey Votto, it's technically a 10-year extension, but he already had 2 years on his previous deal left, so major league record 12-year contract.
I believe it was opening day. Usually you talk about Joey Votto, you talk about his offensive highlights, but he made a couple of tremendous defensive plays over at first base to save errors for his infielders. I can imagine it's tough to write those checks, but if you're going to write a check that big, Joey Votto's the guy that probably ought to get it because he is the total package.
Yeah.
His games in that ballpark in Cincinnati, Great American Ballpark, a hitter's paradise. He figures to just rack up huge offensive numbers every year of that contract. He hits on the road too.
At the end of the bat, foul.
I was talking to some people from the Reds in spring training, Len, and very similar to a story I told a couple of years ago about Edgar Martinez. For my money, one of the greatest right-handed hitters in the history of the game. His spring training routine was a lot different than most guys. Edgar Martinez felt like he needed to see pitches in spring training, as many pitches as he could see. So many days, rather than play in the big league game at the stadium, he would go to the minor league complex where they have a clover leaf of 4 fields, and he would lead off every inning in every game. Run from field to field, playing in an A-ball game, then a double-A, then a high A, then back to a triple-A field. He'd get as many as 18 or 20 or 25 at-bats in an afternoon. Edgar's theory, as I said, he wanted to see as many pitches as possible. Well, Joey Votto did something similar this year with the Cincinnati Reds in spring training.
Pretty good guy to emulate.
Yes, it is. Sure is.
Yep. We've completed 5. It's 6-3 Brewers.
Tonight's Xfinity high-speed action. Hopefully the real high-speed action is yet to come for the Cubs in this ball game as they trail the Brewers.
Chris Narveson got through the minimum 5 innings to qualify for the win. Norichika Aoki will pinch hit for Narveson here in the 6th. Aoki had his first major league hit and scored his first run on Sunday versus St. Louis. Comes over from the Japanese Central League. He's with the Tokyo Yakult Swallows. Hit .329 in Japan in his career. Was a Central League batting champ in 2005, 2007, and 2010. 6-time Gold Glover and an All-Star in each of his 7 full campaigns. He's an outfielder. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Full count. Brewers were awarded his negotiating rights in mid-December. And he signed about a month later. 2-year contract with a club option for a 3rd as he takes a leadoff walk. Now Ricky Weeks. Swings at the first pitch. And Marlon Byrd will take care of it.
Maybe not so much in this situation, Len, but something to file away for future reference. Aoki was a big-time stolen base threat. A few years ago, he stole 41 bags over in the Japanese Professional League back in 06. Had 31 stolen bases in 08. Totals have gone down every year since then, but you would have to assume that he has base stealing speed still at 30 years old.
Lopez throws over.
Rodrigo's done a nice job of shortening up his delivery to home plate. There were times last year that he would take a while to unload that pitch to home plate. Didn't really give his catcher much of an opportunity to throw out potential base stealers, but something he worked on in spring training is tightening up that delivery, a little bit of a modified slide step toward home plate just to try to hold that runner a little closer at first.
If you go back 16 years, 1996, Lopez was pitching in the Padres organization in rookie ball. Good play by Baker. Backhand that bounce pickoff attempt. His pitching coach was Rick Sutcliffe. And Sut dubbed Lopez the baby-faced assassin. Sounds like something Sut would come up with. Rick said, my only concern with you is Gomez has done that a lot here in this series, trying to get a running start on a bunt attempt, but he missed it. 1-1.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about Gomez's speed so far in this game, in this series. He's probably going to try to bunt at least once every game he's in the starting lineup.
Sut said, you know, my only concern with you is your toughness. Like everything else about Lopez. So he said, I want you to go out and I want you to hit somebody. So Rodrigo went out and hit the first batter. Guy took his base. Next guy comes up. He hits the next guy. And I think Rick then came out to the mound and Lopez said, you want me to hit somebody else? That was enough.
Yeah, tell me when you've had enough. It's a big hurdle for some pitchers. I mean, not that you want guys to be headhunters, but you'd like them to have that toughness where if they feel a hitter's leaning out over the plate, taking away the outside corner, that you're not afraid to come inside, even if you happen to plunk a batter or two. Commanding both sides of the plate.
Castro, we're out number 2.
Talked about Rodrigo Lopez tightening up his delivery out of the stretch a little quicker to home plate. Just picks that foot up, slides it forward a few inches, drops it right back down on the ground. Very tough to get a jump over there at first base. And that slide step serves a dual purpose. It slows down the runner over there at first. He can't get as good a jump as he might normally. And occasionally it will throw off the hitter's timing when you almost jump at the hitter a lot quicker than he's expecting. Sometimes you can get some very awkward looking swings. Guys feel like they have to jump at the ball as quickly as you're throwing it to home plate.
Swing by Braun. 0-2. Paul Mahalam went 4 innings, gave up 6 runs on 6 hits. 5 of those runs were in the opening inning. 2 walks, 2 Ks, 2 homers allowed. Narveson for Milwaukee, 5 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned. Walked 2 and struck out 4. Well struck, but it's Soriano to make the grab, and the inning is over. As promised earlier in the game, here's a sneak peek at the Three Stooges, the movie.
Signaled by Ron Renicky, their manager last night. We're going to show you the difference in our Coors Light freeze cam between a suicide squeeze and a safety squeeze. This is a suicide squeeze. The runner at third is in motion. He's counting on that batter at least putting the ball in play or fouling it off, because if the batter bunts through it, he's out. It's suicide at home plate. The safety squeeze, the runner holds his ground at third base, takes a secondary lead, and reads the bunt off the bat. If he then thinks he can come on down the line and score, he will. Otherwise, he holds and stays at third base. That's the difference between a suicide and a safety squeeze.
Sean Markham and Carlos Gomez executing those bunts. His right-hander Marco Estrada is on here in the bottom of the sixth. Jeff Baker. That's another fly ball. We've seen a ton of those in the game tonight. Seems like everything the Brewers have hit has been in the air. Not so much the Cubs. Certainly Milwaukee. Soto with a strikeout and a ground out. Great play by Ricky Weeks to end the bottom of the third. Weeks is over on that shortstop side of second once again. The shifting is normally totally different, unrelated in the outfield and the infield. They're pretty straight up in the outfield. You see now Gomez moving a little bit toward left center. He's coming back. He just walked in a circle, basically.
Just trying to stay warm out there.
Yeah.
And that's not highly unusual, Len, to see the pull shift on the infield. If a guy hits the ball in the ground, he's more likely to hit it to his pull side, and see the outfielders shade to the opposite field. As you said, right now the Brewers are pretty much straight up in the outfield. And Soto chases an off-speed pitch down low out of the zone. Until last year in Carlos Pena, a lot of teams put the pull shift on in the infield for Carlos Pena, but they played their center fielder well over into left center to try to take away that opposite field gap. And once again, it all comes back to those spray charts.
Again, not a surprise at all that there are similarities in terms of how the Brewers and Cubs do things in that regard, since Dale Swain came over from the Milwaukee staff. I talked to Ron Renicky yesterday. He was former hitting coach. He said Dale's preparation is unmatched. He said in terms of our hitters last year, he said, I knew if I asked Dale a question, I mean, it was an instant answer. He didn't have to fumble around to look for the answer. He is as hardworking and as prepared as any coach he had been around. Now Renicky comes from the Mike Scioscia tree of would-be managers. So I guess there's a new tree now, the Ron Renicky tree.
Got to go a little ways to catch up with that Mike Scioscia tree. That's got a lot of branches on it.
Bud Black, Joe Madden, Ron Renicky. Three and two on Bird.
Do you think that's particularly galling for Dodger fans to see one of the best catchers in their franchise history just on the south side of town there in Anaheim?
He's the all-time winningest manager in Angels history. Ball four. Conventional walk.
Something Marlin's not particularly accustomed with. Only 25 base on balls in 446 at bats last season, but he'll take the walk right there.
Saw Gary Cederstrom look at his clicker just to confirm. Yeah, it was ball four. Most hitters are eager to walk down to first base. There's Blake DeWitt off the bench. Came off the Cubs bench last night, tied the game with a sacrifice fly in the fifth inning. Lopez did his job, 2 scoreless innings. Rafael Dolis in the 7th. Jam shot foul. There it is. Marco Estrada was born in Mexico, Sonora, Mexico, grew up in Southern California, and then attended Long Beach State. Bird, the runner at first with 2 outs after he walked, and an 0-2 count on pinch hitter Blake DeWitt. Foul pop. Lucroy can't make the catch. He got a glove on it right near the Cubs dugout. The ball ended up right in front of his former hitting coach, Dale Swaim.
Unfortunately for Blake DeWitt and the Cubs, that ball wasn't popped very high in the air. Rattled around every part of that catcher's mitt and then comes right out the webbing and drops into the Cubs dugout. New life for Blake DeWitt. one of the trickiest parts of the ballpark right there. We talk a lot about the wells in left and right field, but for the catchers, that little notch on both sides of the field comes into play more often than you might think. Get over there around that on-deck circle with pine tar rags and the donuts for the bats and weighted bat. Got an usher and a ball boy and a bag of game balls right around the corner there. You've got the steps down into the Cubs dugout, and it seems like at least once or twice a homestand there'll be a foul ball over in that vicinity.
Long battle here. And another 0-2. Another foul.
Got him scattered all over the pitch tracks box there. Nice job by Blake DeWitt to just waste those borderline good pitcher's pitches and back in that box and forced Estrada to come at him one more time.
So the first pitch was a curve for a called strike. Since then, he's fouled off 7 in a row, mostly fastballs. Another fastball and another foul.
I don't know any hitter that ever went to spring training and got extra work in the cage trying to foul pitches off, but some guys just have a knack for it. Ability to waste those good pitches and hope for some kind of a mistake by that man out there on the mound. Wade Boggs was really good at that. Bill Buckner was tremendous at fouling off 2-strike pitches and staying alive in the at-bat.
Wasn't always pretty, but he would hang in there.
Yep.
On the ground. And Gonzalez off balance throw. He's got plenty of arm to get Blake DeWitt. Cubs strand one. Will head off to the 7th. Still 6-3 for the visitors.
Central coming up tonight after Horseshoe Casino Cubs post-game live. Blackhawks get ready for the playoffs against the Coyotes. And Ozzie suspended for 5 days for his comments. Join Pat Boyle and Mark Shanowski for GMC Sportsnet Central tonight after post-game live only on Comcast Sportsnet, fans' best friend.
The tickets are available now for the 2012 Cubs season, including the next homestand against division rivals the Cubs and Cardinals from April 20th through the 25th. Purchase tickets, visit Cubs.com, call 1-800-THE-CUBS, or visit the Wrigley Field box office. Here's rookie righty Rafael Dolis. See what he did in the spring. Key for him is throwing strikes. He's got that heavy sinker as he faces Aramis Ramirez. From the Cubs, Scott Sanderson will handle the stretch duties tonight. Gio will try to get Dolis settled in. The big inning, if you missed it, was a 5-run first for Milwaukee against Paul Maholm. Now 3-0 with Corey Hart waiting on deck.
Dolis struggling to find the zone there on Aramis Ramirez. It looked like the third pitch of the sequence might have caught the bottom of the strike zone, but with a young pitcher on the mound, he's going to have to prove that he can throw strikes consistently before you're going to get the benefit of the doubt on a borderline call. The good news is, because of that sinking action on his fastball, he's one ground ball away from 2 outs here.
He's missed in the first 5. The White Sox and Indians were postponed tonight. How cold do you think it is on the shores of Lake Erie tonight?
I believe it'd be too much colder than it is right here.
Yeah, you're right. Although I would bet, I'm just totally guessing here, but the Cleveland has more postponements than we do. Yeah, that one year when they had all kinds of snow. I think they had an entire 4-game series postponed, and then it was against the Mariners. Then they came to Milwaukee to play the Angels. Back-to-back walks. Not how Dolis wanted to start this inning. Here comes Alex Gonzalez with 2 on and nobody out.
I'll tell you, Lynn, you see it happen occasionally when guys have a tremendous moving, sinking fastball like Dolis does. It's hard to keep it in the strike zone sometimes. You know, he's trying to throw that ball middle of the thighs, middle of the plate, but with that late movement, it's sinking and diving all over the place. I remember a young Brandon Webb with the Arizona Diamondbacks who featured a very heavy, sinking, tailing fastball, and he would occasionally get in those funks where he just could not keep the sinker in the strike zone.
When Jamie Wright was younger, very similar issues. That's why some sinker ballers eventually blend in a 4-seamer. They can just command a little better. Second of 17 meetings between the Cubs and Brewers this season. Gonzalez to deep center. Marlon Byrd will get there. Ramirez went halfway to third, so no tag opportunity. 1 down.
Now that first baseman number 24, Matt Gamble.
Outside corner to Gamble.
You may have noticed when Giovanni Soto made his last trip to the mound, Gary Cedars from the home plate umpire kind of followed him out to the mound and had some words with Dolis and Soto. Just speculating. The one pitch during the Aramis Ramirez at bat looked like it was in the strike zone, and occasionally an umpire will recognize that, hey, I probably missed one right there. You know, the kid's out there struggling, trying to throw strikes. I'll just go out there and admit my mistake and let's move forward. And it seems like Dolis has settled in a little bit since then.
.95 that time. Cameron Lowe, he likes to get ground ball outs as well. His sinker. That's a great last name.
It really is. Yeah, for a sinker ball pitcher.
Eric Lowe, Cameron Lowe. And a bouncer. That'll go 6. Unassisted. Wanted the 6-3 double play, but he can only get the force out at second base. And will beat the relay throw, or beat the throw, I should say.
Maybe a little bit too far to run this time for Starlin Castro to get the force and still relay on to first in time to get Gamble, who runs pretty good for a corner infielder. He got down that line in time to beat the relay throw. I'm not so sure they would have had him even with the toss on to Darwin Barney right there.
Here's Lucroy with Niger Morgan on deck. He would pinch hit for Estrada should Lucroy reach. First and third. Sinker low. 2-0. Tigers are 4-0 after a 5-2 win over Tampa Bay earlier today. Three in the 8th. It's just 43 degrees in Detroit today. 3-0.
For that Tigers offense, they're going to have some games this summer where they put 20+ runs on the board. You can just feel it coming with Big Prince Fielder on one corner and Brera on the other corner. The complementary players they have on that team to get on base in front of them.
Ethier hit a game-winning homer in the bottom of the 8th for the Dodgers, who beat the Pirates 2-1. Clayton Kershaw got a no decision. 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 run. 56,000 in LA. The home opener. Base hit center field. To plate Ramirez, and it's 7-3. They stayed out of the double play. Gamble beat that throw by Castro, and that gave Lucroy this opportunity. It'll bring up Morgan, the pinch hitter. But first, Chris Bosio with a visit to the mound. Hey Bob, I've enjoyed getting to know The Cubs' new hard-nosed pitching coach, Chris Bosio, well, he's all business. Was a very intense competitor when he pitched in the big leagues for the Brewers and the Seattle Mariners. And as you said, he has really pounded home the idea of pitching to both sides of the plate. It started day one of spring training. The thing Ron Renicky may do, as he did last night, is take Corey Hart out early. Not that Corey Hart is a bad defender in the outfield, but he is coming off knee surgery. And with his team leading by 4, he may leave Morgan in the game. We'll see.
Getting back to Chris Bosio, the pitching coach, just for a moment, Len. One thing I like about it, and certainly it's not a prerequisite to be a good big league pitching coach, but I like the idea that he had a long career. I'm sure early on, if you ask him, he'd tell you he got by on stuff alone, but as his career progressed, he learned more under different pitching coaches, under different teammates, and learned how to pitch. And I think sometimes that's very important for a pitching coach, to go through those stages when you were a phenom and you could rely just strictly on your stuff out there on the mound, and then later in your career, when your stuff maybe isn't quite as good, you learn how to set hitters up, you learn how to pitch to situations, and that experience hopefully will really benefit the Cubs pitching staff moving forward.
Kick in the 1-2, way outside. Swing and a miss. Time now for the Captain Morgan's 7th inning stretch with Scott Sanderson.
Take me out to the ball game. Former Cub Scott Sanderson.
A shame, for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the all game. All right, Cubbies, let's go get some runs.
Cubs new pitching coach Chris Bosio with a long career. Well, this guy, Scott Sanderson, 19 years in the big leagues and a former Cub, part of a couple of NL Eastern Division championship teams in '84 and '89, and a Chicago guy. Always great to see you, Scott.
Thanks, Lenny. It's so good to be out here. I just coming to this ballpark. I'm a little bit jealous of you guys getting to come to work here every day like this.
It is a great place to call our office, so to speak.
Scotty, you had to love pitching on nights like this. Now, the wind has died down considerably since we started, but it was howling straight in from left field. It's probably in the 30s by now. Pitchers have to love nights like this at Wrigley.
Well, you're definitely on the mound. You have the advantage, especially with the wind blowing in and it's cold. First of all, with it being cold, you're the only one that's moving out there all the time. The only other one that can even stay close to being warm is the catcher. But the pitcher, you're moving. Everyone else is standing still, so you've got the advantage. And then with the wind blowing in, I mean, you dare people to hit it in the air. You know, I was talking to Keith Moreland a little bit earlier, and I told him, I said, Keith, when I was pitching on days like this and the wind's blowing in, as a pitcher, you're always taught to keep the ball at the knees. I didn't want to keep the ball at the knees. In days like today, I wanted to keep it at the belt and slightly above. Let these power hitters hit it as high and as far as they want, and if the wind's blowing hard enough, it's not going out. I can't tell you how many times I threw pitches and guys took their best swings, and I mean, they dead centered the ball that was caught a few feet in front of the warning tracks, and they'd go back in the dugout and I'd hear bats slam and helmets slam and guys screaming out at me, and I was just laughing going, you know, this will all even out in July, I promise.
Right. 3-0 to the Jesus, and that's a strike. Tried to sell it, didn't get the call. I got to ask you about your first major league club. Do you miss the Montreal Expos?
Well,
yeah, I know you have a soft spot in your heart for the Expos. But a
lot of people don't even remember that there was such a team out there. But, you know, I think the greatest thing about my first game was, yes, it was for the Expos, but it was here in Chicago, Wrigley Field, against the Cubs, the team that I grew up loving.
Well, that had to be something else.
Do you remember how many tickets you left that night, Scott?
Been that day, right?
Yeah, they hadn't quite invented lights yet at that point in time, but it was somewhere in the 30s, and I was so excited to be out here. And the good thing, it wasn't the very first game of the series, so I had a day or two to kind of warm up to the fact that I was here and running out there for, you know, batting practice and being out there, and, you know, but the night before, I remember sleep was not easy.
There's Darwin Barney. Takes a strike. Well, Andre Dawson did get into the Hall of Fame, deserved it, but he could have put up even bigger numbers had those knees not been ravaged by that fake stuff up there at Olympic Stadium.
Well, you're up there. I mean, as nice as it was to play in Montreal, we were playing on concrete every day.
That'll be caught by Gomez. Whoa, Gamble tumbles over Jesus. Looks like everybody's all right. Now, Bob, did you not hit him inside the Parker in Montreal?
Yeah, thanks to the artificial turf. Yeah.
Oh, how I would love to have seen that one.
It was a little sinking line drive to right center, and Hawk was coming over from right field, and Tim Raines was coming over from center field and tried to make a shoestring catch. And my recollection was the ball actually hit in Tim Raines' glove, and then he kicked it out because he was fully extended and the ball was just off the top of the turf. And then kicked it in the corner, and it rolled all the way around and back toward the infield.
Did they have an argument about who was going to go get it first?
I don't know. Believe me, at that point, there was no air, nowhere. I was running and couldn't catch my breath, and I get to third base, and Jim Davenport's waving me home, and bless his heart, Gary Carter was catching for the Expos and blocked the plate on me, and I slid head first, and he sat on my shoulders, and all I can remember is that cloud of dust and the umpire calling me safe, and I think I went into a 3-week slump after that.
Hey, Brent, could we find that on YouTube, do you think?
I don't think so.
I'm going to have to go look that up. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I would too. If you find it, let us see it. We'll put it on the air.
That was before motion pictures.
Well, Bob referenced the late Gary Carter. Long battle with brain cancer, and beloved certainly in New York and Montreal, even though the Expos aren't there. But what a great guy and a heck of a ball player.
Yeah, Gary was a catcher for the first 6 years of my career, and a good friend. And you know what? He did things right in the game of baseball. He stood, what he stood for was good.
They will try to turn 2, and they will, to end the inning. Scott, always a pleasure to have you here in the booth with us, and we'll see you again soon. Great job with the stretch.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you,
Scotty. Always good to see you. Exaggerated pull shifts that we're seeing in this series, it lends itself to some amazing defensive plays, and Giovanni Soto was robbed by Ricky Weeks. Playing on the shortstop side of the bag at second, makes a diving stab to his left and throws on in time for the out. Nicely done.
Thanks again to Scott Sanderson for stopping in. Always enjoy chatting with him. Pride of Glenbrook North High School. If the inning hadn't ended, and I didn't want to make it all about the Expos, but I also wanted to ask him about Tim Raines. There are a lot of people out there who think that Tim Raines should be in the Hall of Fame, one of the greatest leadoff hitters of all time. Maybe only topped by Ricky Henderson. Great base stealer. Well, they had some really good ball players in Montreal for many, many years who were completely overlooked.
Well, to this day, that was it, the '94 Expos team that a lot of people think may have been one of the best teams ever put together. Larry Walker was on that team, and Marquise Grissom. Jeez, I can't even.
Vladimir Guerrero.
Vladimir Guerrero.
Yeah, the Expos were 74-40 in first place in the East when the season ended. Cliff Floyd, Will Cordero, Moises Alou, Pedro Martinez, a young 23-year-old kid named Kirk Reeder, John Wetland, Jeff Shaw. Yeah, Mel Rojas had 16 saves for that team.
Pretty strong unit.
Yeah. Jeff Pissarro, Ken Hill had 16 wins. The number one goal here for Rafael Dolis and some of these other young Cub pitchers is results, but you hear the term parallel fronts. The learning part of it, pitching at this level, is not unimportant. And Dolis certainly realizing tonight in particular that big league hitters are going to swing at a lot of your pitches.
Well, and every time he steps on the mound, as you said, it's a learning experience. Not only are you battling the other team and the hitter up there in the batter's box, but occasionally you battle yourself.
So Gomez will fly out this windy night.
Well, it's understandable for a young man. His first full season at the major league level. You get the butterflies. You get a little bit nervous when that phone rings in the bullpen and they call your name and your heart starts racing. It's a very important part of your game to learn how to control your own emotions and learn how to control your own body so you can do the things you need to do out there on the mound to be effective.
Andy Castillo is quickly loosening. Made his big league debut last night. Hopefully got the butterflies out. Check out the new Audi Legend Suite on the Nuveen Investment Suite level. Watch a game with a former Cubs player. Listen to classic stories about life as a Cub. With a luxury food and beverage package and a unique gift for each guest, the Audi Legend Suite is the most exclusive way to watch a Cubs game. For more information, visit Cubs.com/suites. We want to wish a very happy 96th birthday to big Cub fan in Frankfort, Illinois, Ruth Schramm. Hope you're warm tonight, Ruth. We're not.
Some of the Brewers fans in attendance here tonight were chanting MVP as Ryan Braun made his way to the plate, quickly drowned out by the Cub fans with a chorus of boos.
Threw that one over there about 96 miles an hour.
Quick feet. He got rid of that ball before he even turned completely toward first base. Got loose from the Cubs bullpen, went rocketing past Giovanni Soto behind home plate.
Jesus will come in and make the grab to retire Ryan Braun. Pitch to Ramirez. Tailing fastball called strike. Cardinals beat the Reds 3-1. Kyle Loesch is 2-0. They beat Mike Leake. Cardinals are 5-1. Has been pretty good, even without Albert Pujols.
Well, with all the questions surrounding the Cardinals coming off their World Championship season last year, all the changes in the dugout as far as the players go, the manager, the pitching coach, getting off to a fast start is hugely important to them. You stumble out of the gate a little bit with a new manager, some new coaches, some new players. You start to question yourself. Geez, maybe we can't win without Albert, you know, but get off to a start the way they have. They feel like they're a good enough team to win it again.
Nationals over the Mets, a final 6-2. And that's the first loss for New York. They're 4-1. Ross Detweiler defeated Dylan G. Ian Desmond with a home run tonight. Ground ball knocked down by Stewart. Does he have time? He does, to get Ramirez. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. 7-3 Milwaukee. Burger King in-game box score. Cubs had a 3-run third that ended too abruptly when Ricky Weeks made a fantastic defensive play to Giovanni Soto. Cubs haven't been able to muster anything since that third. Trail 7-3 with 6 outs to go. Cameron Lowe on for the second consecutive inning. Soriano 2 for 3 with a couple knocked in.
Well, you saw on our in-game box score, all 6 Cubs hits coming to the first 4 hitters in the lineup. The 5 through 9 spots hitless on the night. Jeff Baker did drive home a run in that third inning with a sacrifice fly to the outfield, but yet to find a base hit.
Other finals from around baseball. The Blue Jays over the Red Sox 7-3. Boston now 1-4. Texas beat the Mariners 1-0 in Arlington. Neftali Feliz got the win. And Blake Bevan. High flies center field. Gomez calling and catching. Yankees and Orioles are in the 10th, bottom 10, 4-4. Derek Jeter and J.J. Hardy, two shortstops, homering tonight. Two clubs tonight, Bob, on a 4-4 tie in the 10th have combined the Yankees and Orioles to go 1 for 20 with runners in scoring position.
Happens to everybody from time to time.
Yes, it does. One to Stewart. There's a breaking ball in there for a strike. Braves lead the Astros 6-4 in the bottom of the 8th in Houston. Atlanta closing in on its first win of the season, but it's not over yet. Chipper Jones with a home run. A 2-run shot. Weeks to his glove side.
Well, it seems like it's been a long time since we've played against the Milwaukee Brewers and have not seen Craig Counsell in a Brewers uniform. It's because he's in the front office now. He's a special assistant to the general manager, Doug Melvin. Hey, everybody that knew Craig Counsell, it was only a question of whether he wanted to stay on the field or go into the front office. He knew he had a future after his playing days, and Brewers are very fortunate and glad to have him.
Yeah, Milwaukee native, part of 2 Game 7 game-winning rallies in his career as a player. And his dad, John, worked for the Brewers at one time, so I guess Greg is following in his footsteps. If I told you Craig Counsell is going to be a manager or a general manager, which one do you think is more likely? Would he be in the front office or eventually back on the field every day?
Based on my personal experience with Craig Counsell, I think he's going to end up back on the field. But, you know, getting a taste of what it is to be in the front office and how things operate, because it's completely different than what you think as a player. He may decide he likes it in the front office. He can do whatever he wants.
You're right. Baker bounces out. Cameron Lowe with 2 scoreless innings. And we'll head to the 9th. Milwaukee leading by 4.
to see every Cubs out-of-market game live online and on your favorite devices in HD quality. Visit Cubs.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv. Baseball everywhere.
Lendy Castillo made his major league debut last night. 2/3 of an inning, charged with a run on 1 hit. He hit a batter as well. And it's Travis Ishikawa pinch hitting in the pitcher's spot. Former Giant. One more for his defense at first base than his offense. Quite sure Castillo knows exactly where the ball's going right now.
We talked about it with Rafael Dolis an inning ago. Sometimes for these young guys, you just have to keep running them out there until they get their nerves under control, till they understand that they can pitch at this level. They can be successful if they just do things the way they've always done them. Just because it's a major league batter in the box and there's a second deck on the stadium, that shouldn't change you from doing the things that got you here in the first place. But sometimes that can be a big hurdle for a young player.
See Giovanni Soto's walking him through this. That last pitch was a nasty cutter. Bird with the grab for the out. It's a good comeback and that at bat. I tell you, most guys on this staff throw a cut fastball. That has been a pitch, Bob, that has exploded throughout the major leagues the last few years.
You know, for a while there were just a few guys in each league that featured what you would call a cut fastball. Certainly Mariano Rivera, the most notable, the closer for the Yankees, has lived with that cut fastball his whole career. And then gradually guys incorporated it as a complementary pitch to go along with their sinker and their breaking pitch and the changeup, just to give the hitter a different look. But now a lot of pitchers are throwing that cut fastball, some to excess. It's not meant to be your go-to pitch unless you're Mariano Rivera, but certainly is a welcome addition to some arsenals.
Rivera's teammate, Andy Pettit, and now what's the deal here?
I think Lendy Castillo went to his mouth standing on the rubber, and Gary Cederstrom noticed it right away, stepped out from behind home plate and called the ball.
I was just going to say Andy Pettit, Al Leiter, two other guys who relied, and I guess in Pettit's case still rely on the cutter from the left side. As Gonzalez takes the walk. I happen to be calling games in the NL East when Tom Glavine became a Met, and it was really interesting, Bob, how he and Al Leiter taught each other how to work the other side of the plate. Because Al Leiter against righties, cutter in, cutter in, cutter in. Tom Glavine, change up, fastball away, away, away. Glavine started working inside to righties and Leiter away from the righties as well.
And it was amazing the effect that had on hitters facing Tom Glavine. I think I've told this story in the past, going over an advance meeting with Tom Glavine pitching against our team, and all the hitters kept saying, yeah, he's going to cut that fastball in. He's going to cut that fastball in. So we went back and looked at videotape from his last 2 or 3 starts, and you know, he might have cut a ball in on a right-hander's hand twice the entire game. Everything else was away, 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 but it made such a big impression on the hitters that they were protecting against a pitch they might not even see. Boy, talk about being effective without even throwing a pitch.
Yeah.
Just based on the reputation. One right-handed batter got jammed by a cutter from Tom Glavine, and everybody in the league was looking for it.
2-0 now to Gamble. I mean, for viewers out there who are seeing Dolis and Castillo for the first time, I think two things become pretty obvious. They've got a long way to go in terms of learning how to pitch, but you can see the stuff is clearly there. There will be growing pains. We've already seen some here on this homestand. Gamble airs it out. And a slip by DeJesus, but no problem. Bird was there. And the runner's going to hold at first. Big night for the Brewer catcher. A walk, a homer, another RBI single. Only halfway through this series. Giovanni Gallardo and Ryan Dempster tomorrow afternoon at 1:20, and then same time, and we'll have it for you here on Comcast Sportsnet. Thursday, Zach Greinke and Matt Garza. It's off to St. Louis. A foul tip, strike three. And for Castillo, it's his first major league strikeout. We'll break down the game and preview the Cubs' next matchup. Don't miss Horseshoe Casino Cubs post-game live immediately following the game right here on Comcast Sportsnet. fans' best friend. Jose Veras is on here in the bottom of the ninth. His team leading 7-3. Milwaukee got 5 of its 7 runs in the opening inning off Paul Maholm. Maholm and Veras were teammates last year with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was a busy man last year for the Buccos. 79 appearances. This is his 3rd with Milwaukee. He was acquired in a trade for former Cub Casey McGee. Diamondbacks lead the Padres 2-1. They're in the 4th inning in San Diego. Trevor Cahill against Edinson Volquez. Diamondbacks are 3-0. Just in case, Francisco Rodriguez. Again, Ron Renicky would like to avoid using John Axford tonight. Soto deep to left center, out toward the bleachers, gone. That's his first of the year, and it's 7-4.
To see from Giovanni Soto. We've talked about the relative lack of power in this Cubs lineup. Giovanni Soto could make up for a lot of that. He waited really well on that off-speed pitch, exploded his hands through the hitting zone, and got it out of here to left center field.
Cubs were able to rally in the ninth last night. And they were trailing 7-3 going into that inning. They would not only score twice, but they would have the bases loaded with 2 outs before John Axford struck out Starlin Castro. There's Laher on deck. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Here comes Brian Laher, who almost hit one onto a rooftop across Sheffield last night.
We were talking about it earlier today. I've never seen the fans across the street get ready to catch a home run ball. You see the fans in the right field bleachers all the time, but people across the street were getting ready to catch that drive by Brian Laher.
A monster season at AAA Iowa last year. That earned him a spot on the opening day roster. He would have been the opening day first baseman, but dealt with some back stiffness And the only reason he wasn't in the lineup tonight is because the Cubs were facing a left-handed starter. Swing and a miss. They overshift toward the right on the infield. 1-1 the count.
Well, in the bunt competition in spring training notwithstanding, the Cubs don't really have a lot of bunt for base hit guys in their lineup, or on the roster for that matter. But I gotta believe that against the Brewers, teams that have guys that can bunt, we mentioned Carlos Pena earlier and what he did with the Cubs last year, occasionally dropping down a bunt to beat the shift. I have to believe a lot of teams are going to try to take advantage of some of these exaggerated shifts, especially when they're trailing by 3 runs late in the ball game. You just need base runners.
Yeah. 3-1.
I guess if you're Ron Renicky, Brian LaHair wants to bunt for a base hit, go ahead and give it a shot. You're doing something that's not part of your normal game. You're going away from what you're good at just to try to take advantage of the defense.
Ball 4, and I wonder if Renicki's going to think about Rodriguez. Here he comes. And it will be K-Rod. It'll be our Honda call to the pen. It is. Jones, 291 career saves, is looking for his first as a Brewer. He has been the setup man for John Axford since coming over from the Mets midseason last year. But he's trying to notch the save as he faces David DeJesus.
Saw Rodriguez for an inning of work in the ball game last night. In the 8th, he did walk Darwin Barney, the first batter he faced, but then he got Starlin Castro to fly out to center, and Alfonso Soriano hit into a double play.
Swing and a miss as LaHair will take second. Defensive indifference. I hate that call.
I'm not crazy about it myself.
Guy steals a bag. He steals it, but here's the 0-1. Just on the outside corner, 0-2 on a borderline pitch. Carlos Marmol just grabbed a ball in the Cubs bullpen in case we get to a 10th inning. Soto led off the inning with a home run. 2 batters later, pinch hitter Brian LaHare walked. That chased Barras out of the game, and now it's Rodriguez. And almost hit De Jesus. 2-2.
Francisco Rodriguez has really evolved as a pitcher since making it to the majors back in 2002 with the Angels. Back then he was, I think you'd have to consider him a breaking ball pitcher. Threw a lot of curves, a lot of sliders, mixed in some fastballs just to keep hitters honest. But as his career has gone on, after the 2008 season, he scrapped his slider completely. Started to throw more changeups along with his curveball and his fastball. And now he's pretty evenly split. Throws about 60% fastballs, about 20% curves, and near 20% changeups.
Called strike 3.
I don't know. Right there, right at the bottom of the zone, according to our pitch tracks. David DeJesus thought it was down.
The other change, as you go back a few years, Rodriguez's signature was the goggles he used to wear, but switched to contacts about 5 years ago. It's up to Darwin Barney with Starlin Castro on deck representing the tying run. And Rodriguez is kind of the antithesis of Greg Maddux in terms of being in a good fielding position after he lets go of the pitch.
I was just thinking that very thing, Len. His repertoire may have changed out there on the mound, but his delivery has stayed pretty much the same since he was a rookie. Really flies off that mound.
Alex Gonzalez will throw to first, and the Brewers have taken the first 2 games of this series. Inappropriate that Alex Gonzalez made the final play because he is our GMC player of the game. Bob, this was a tone setter, a 3-run homer capping a 5-run first for Milwaukee.
Yeah, and he hit it when the wind was blowing at its hardest early in the ball game and banged it right through that wind about halfway up the bleachers to spot the Brewers to a lead, and they never looked back.
So that'll wrap it up from the ballpark. For Bob Brenly, our producer John Walsh, director Dave Turner, our associate producer Tamara Anderson, our tech manager Mark Harper, and executive producer Jim Corno Jr. And for our entire crew, Len Casper saying so long. Final 7-4 Milwaukee. Brewers and Cubs Thursday at 1 from the ballpark here on Comcast Sportsnet. In-game scoring provided by ScorePad. You've been watching Cubs Baseball.